Welcome back to day 5 of making a VR game. Today we're going to be adding the main menu and user interface. So I've decided to go with the world space user interface and just add it to the TV here so that it remains an immersive element in the game. So we got our main menu added to the TV. This is where you'll start the game. And we're going to get this room added. I want to take a quick second to say thanks to my first patron over on Patreon. Thank you, Renee. The support from all you guys means a lot because that enables me to keep making tutorials. And getting my first patron yesterday gave me a lot of motivation to get this video series back on track today. So thank you for that. Here we go. So far, we've installed Unity. Got a bunch of settings configured. We put a sky dome in instead of a skybox. We got our lighting settings done along with that. We have additive scenes, so the VR camera is in a scene of its own, and all the rest of the levels are going to get loaded additively. We have object interaction. We can build for the Gear VR and the Google VR. So now we're ready to start making the game. The first thing that we're going to see when we open up the game is going to be the main menu, and that's going to get into some HUD elements. And another thing that's nice to take care of early on in your project is of course the main menu and the HUD, because when you're publishing for the Gear VR, it has the touchpad over here where you could do whatever you want with the touchpad, but it has the back button, and the back button has some specific requirements for how you have to handle the back button when you publish to Oculus Store. And so when you push the back button, we're going to have to do something. Most likely you're going to pause the game and bring up a menu of some type, or get a HUD in front of so the player could probably click exit or resume or restart. And so let's get into the HUD. Now there's a bunch of different ways to design the heads up display in VR. I think the best ones are in world space, where it's just an item that's in the world, and you see it and you interact with it just like you would in real life. So this tutorial shows a really good technique on how to make a radial button, and it looks like this. So that's a good, those radial buttons are good for mobile VR. An example of how to turn those two buttons into a scene is in this tutorial, where we've put those two buttons into a scene. So here would be like start the game on one button, or the other button would say exit game or something. So the immersive ads tutorial shows how to kind of use this button to make a main menu, and we might use immersive ads in this project. We should. Another UI tutorial you can look at is this one right here, which shows how to use the Unity UI slider to make a linear style gaze button. So that's another UI tutorial you can look at. Another UI tutorial you can look at is this one, where we actually use a cube and the Unity input system to make a similar linear style loading button like this. So those are some tutorials you can reference on building a UI for VR. So I thought in this case, I'm not 100% sure exactly what the game's going to be. I have a lot of notes from all you guys on ideas for the game, so I'm taking those down, and then we're going to decide what makes a good quick and easy tutorial game. But I think I may use these simple assets by Cinti Studios, I'm going to import the Simple House Interiors pack here. It's $10. So that works for an indie budget. And now that that's imported, let me just take a look at the demo scene. So they have some a couple of rooms set up here already, and there's a TV here. I'm thinking I might put the main menu on this TV and then just have the player in this room when they start the game. But it can't be this room because this room is, you know, like the demo that comes with the game. So I'm going to build a room real quick. And, you know, some of the tools that I'm going to be using here are in the Procore bundle from Procore here. For example, I think I'll use Pro Builder and Pro Grids. Now, there's a free version of Pro Builder, and it also goes on sale from time to time, so watch for that. But here we go. So I've created a basic room here with the TV, which the TV is going to be the main menu. I got the VR main right there, kind of sitting on the couch, I guess. And there's just some random stuff I'm not done with yet. But another thing I did was I took all the assets from this house pack and I laid them out in a grid like this so I can go pick which ones I want to use in my house. And I actually made a tutorial on how to do that with an editor script right here. So it was actually really fast and easy for me to do that today. But of course, this is just for picking assets from, and I'm going to turn that off for now. Now the cubes that I was working with before, at least this one, I'm going to delete that. It was just for the baked lighting example. There are these 3 interactive cubes, so I guess I'll bring those into the house, because eventually we'll need to use interactive objects. And then there was one other kind of annoying problem. Because I'm using the vertex lit rendering path, which I've set here, and I went ahead and used the shader mobile vertex lit, and it works for real-time lighting. But if you bake the lighting, which I do from the scene controller here, so it bakes all the lighting, and I need to remove this scene so it doesn't try to bake the lighting on that. And now that I've baked the lighting, these lights, which are set to real time, they don't work anymore because I've baked the lighting. They don't do anything, which is really annoying because I want to bake the shadows, and then I want to have some real-time lights as well. So to solve this problem, I've got a shader on the asset store. It's a vertex lit shader with baked shadows and real-time light. and it solves this exact problem so that I can have real-time lights on top of my baked shadows. And so because I've imported that shader, if I go now to custom vertex dynamic light map, there we go. Now I get the dynamic lights as well as the baked lights. And because I'm completely inside and there's only a couple of windows with light coming through, it's pretty dark, so I definitely need these real-time lights. And I was thinking I could bake these as well, but I might use the light switch to turn them off. Okay, so I got some real-time lights on top of my baked shadows now. I need to do a test on this, and I'm gonna want to test the performance at this point, and always monitor performance while I'm developing. So, and I can see that I could see through the sky dome is clipping, so I either need to increase the far clip plane of the camera, or I need to make the sky dome smaller. In this case, I'll just make the sky dome a little bit smaller so that because this game may take place completely indoors and I wouldn't need a very big sky dome. So that fixes that blue flickering problem we were seeing. Now it's still pretty dark, it seems, in here. So let me try to increase either the range and or the intensity of these lights. And that looks a lot better. And if I want to test in full screen mode, I could just deselect the VR mode enabled. Now I got about maximum, it looks like somewhere around 30 set pass calls. And that could be reduced when I combine the meshes together. So everything looks good here. Let's go ahead and add the frames per second monitor to the main camera. We already have the dot here, but if we go to the Google VR prefabs utilities, there's a GVR FPS canvas, and I'm going to put the FPS canvas onto the main camera, and I'm going to move it to 001. We'll start at 001. I'm going to hit play, and the text looks really bad, so we'll definitely need to fix that. But let me position it a little bit better. I'm just going to go into the scene and press W and move this. I think that position will work. So because I set that in play mode, I'm going to copy component and stop play mode, and then I'm going to paste component values. So the FPS should be in a good spot, but it looks not that great. And I'm also going to edit the GVR FPS script, and so I'm just going to delete this and set the text to the frames per second. So now it should just show the frames per second. There we go. And The other thing I'm going to do here is fix the text so it doesn't look so awful. The scale of the canvas is already really low, and there's a text component. Probably the easiest way to fix this is just copy the text, create a new child. I'm going to reset the position of it, and I'm going to paste the text here. And then just to make sure I don't make a mistake, I'm going to turn this off for now. And the GVR FPS script was going to get the text field. So the text field will say transform dot get child 0 game object get component text. And we can comment these out because those actually aren't being used. The position of the FPS has gone off the screen. So I'm going to need to fix that. I'll go to the text. Let's see, we'll press W in the inspector and get that back on the canvas. Actually, it might be better to I'm just going to do center, and I need to match it up to the same size of the canvas. The parent's 50-50, so I'm going to set this one to 50-50, and then actually I should be able to say align to the left and the bottom again, and there it is. That's where it should be at. If I hit play, it's in a good position on the screen. The text looks really bad, and to fix that, and the reason why we made a child is so we could set the scale now. I'm going to say 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and then we would increase the font size 10 times. And because I scaled down and I need to turn Pro Grids off. It was messing with the value. I wanted 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. And then I need to make the width 500 by 500 so it matches the parent size. And actually, I think I'll make the font size 80 should work. And that should just make the text look a lot more crisp. So now I have a frames per second monitor. I'm going to go ahead and build this to the S6. Okay, here it is running in the cardboard. So the frames per second is staying at a solid 60. It's actually bouncing. It looks like it's bouncing between 60 and 61. So 60 frames a second with 2 dynamic lights in here. And anyways, everything looks good. Everything looks good. And my main concern was the frames per second because we have dynamic lights in here. I have about 30 draw calls for the whole house because I haven't combined the meshes. But we're definitely solid 60 FPS. No problems at all. So let's get into designing the UI. Well, we've already put a UI in here with the FPS text on the screen. But I want to design a UI where this TV is. So what I'm going to do is I think I'll make it a child of the TV. I'm going to say UI, and I'm going to start with the panel because the panel is going to create a canvas render for me. It put the panel on my the Google VR FPS canvas. I'm going to Control Z to undo that. And what I'll need to do is set level 1 as the active scene. That way game object can be created here. So I'm going to try this again. UI and panel. I could say canvas, but yeah, it did it again. It added the panel up here. So even though level 1 is the active scene, so I'm going to try this again. I'm going to say UI and we're going to do a canvas. All right, it lets me, so add a canvas first. I guess I'm used to just adding a panel and that creates the canvas automatically, but I guess since I already have a canvas, it's putting the panel onto that. So I made a new canvas and we're going to set it to world space. And so world space puts it out into the world like the FPS canvases in front of the camera. And this should be really big. So if I press F, it zooms way out. I can see the whole entire world. And the canvas is going to get scaled down to match the size of the TV. I'm going to start with it's a widescreen, so we'll do 1920 by 1080. And I just left the zeros off of that. And so the scale is going to, I'm going to set this to 0. And the scale is going to be set to 0.1. And now if we press F, we get to zoom in a little bit better. It's still too big, so we're going to do it 0.01. And it's about the size of the TV screen, actually, at 1920 by, or 192 by 108, which is the same aspect ratio as 1920 by 1080. And it's at a 0.01 on the canvas. I'm going to move the canvas into position on the face of the TV. It looks like it's halfway going in. I think the TV is rotated. Let me fix that. I could rotate the canvas, but so just trying to get the canvas lined up in front of the TV screen, because the TV screen is just black. And so the canvas is going to need to be in front of that. I'm going to press T so I can manually adjust some of these edges. And I think that canvas looks pretty good. I'm going to name it the TV canvas. And so now I'm going to make that panel that I wanted to, which is a UI panel. And so this looks like it should, if I play, I should see the gray panel essentially taking up the entire TV screen. And I don't want to have an image here. It's using the Unity's built-in background image. I'm going to delete that so that there's none of those soft rounded edges. It just fills up the whole screen, and the alpha channel is too low. I need to have a full alpha channel, and the color's set to white, so that doesn't look so great. I guess by default it's black when it's turned off. This will be the game menu, so I'll pick a background color for the game. Maybe they're playing this this blue and red game here. So I'm seeing this white outline around it. Yeah, that white border is not visible. That's just the border of the canvas. Now on the panel, I'm gonna have some text. I don't know exactly the way to design this, but I guess I'll call this the my game name. So this is essentially the main menu. I'm going to center the text, the scale. I could put the scale down and find a font, but because Unity's default text looks pretty bad, I'm going to use the Text Mesh Pro, which has really nice looking text into Unity, and it's also really well optimized. I've used it before in mobile VR and it worked fine. So I'm going to go ahead and import Text Mesh. Again, it is a really good tool, and so watch for it on sale, or just pick it up and support the developer. So now that I have the Text Mesh Pro imported, I should be able to go to my panel and say either 3D Object Text Mesh Pro Text or UI Text Mesh Pro Text. The UI is obviously for to go onto a canvas, and the other type of text is 3D text that would just go into the world. But in this case, I already have a canvas, so I want UI text. And you can already see the difference between the Unity text and the Text Mesh Pro. And so before I continue, I'm going to switch over to my frames per second text that's on the camera. And it's already a type of a text. And so I'm going to add a component here, and I'm going to make it a Text Mesh Pro text for the UI. And so it says it can't contain it because it has a text. So we're going to remove the text component. We're going to add the Text Mesh Pro text for the UI. And this is the FPS text. And then we need to go into the GVR FPS script. And we can say using TM Pro. And then I will just say Text Mesh Pro UGUI, which is the GUI. Then I need to change the get component to here to a Text Mesh Pro UGUI. So I just changed from text to Text Mesh Pro UGUI, or Text Mesh Pro for the 3D text in world space. So now that I've updated the Google VR FPS script to use a Text Mesh Pro text, we should be able to go into play mode and see the FPS text. And it's pretty small because I could put the scale back to 1 here and change this back to 50. And then we'll just reduce the font size, maybe even an 8. And I'm going to set the alignment to the left bottom. And you can see there's a lot more options like bold and italics and all this that you could use with Text Mesh Pro. And if I go back into play mode, I should have some pretty good looking frames per second text. It actually looks about like it did before. But what I'm really interested in is the text that is on the TV, because right now it says my game name. I'm going to delete that. We're going to say, we'll call this panel main menu, and this is the game title, I guess. And we'll call this my game title. I'm not sure what we're going to call the game yet. Maybe a font of 24. And so here I can style the text how I like it. And I could set a color. And on the game title, I could set all the options I like bold or italics, underlined. So I am using the mobile shader, but here I could set the face color, which is different than the text color, and it also has a softness. There's a dilate option. I'll set that back to 0. There's the outline setting with the thickness. So there's a lot of settings and styling that you can do on the text. I am going to adjust the height of this a little bit so that it's not as big. 30 looks about right, and I'm going to set it towards the top. And then I'm just going to hit play and take a quick look at it. So another thing I'm going to add is a button. So I'm going to do a UI button. And on the button, it adds a text component automatically. So I'm going to remove that text component and add a text mesh pro text. Now, because I'm using the shader, the outline settings are a shader setting there. So for the time being, I'm going to leave all of the shader settings at their defaults, and I'll just modify the text through the font settings here and extra settings. So this text is too big. I'm going to bring it to 24, and we'll center and center. So there's the button text, and the button is obviously, I don't know, it might be okay, but it looks a little bit too big. I'm going to do a width of 100 and a height of 25, which means the text looks like it should go a little bit smaller. We'll bring it down to maybe we'll just go all the way to 12 and maybe 16. So we have a button, and I'm going to hit play to see if I can interact with the button. It looks like I can. So you see when I look over the button, there actually is a dot that appears. Unfortunately, the dot is white, and so is the button, so it's kind of hard to see. But I can click on the button. So this one might say start game. And we'll make the width a little bit bigger. I'm going to duplicate this. And I want unique game object names for all game objects. So I'm going to rename the buttons and the text to button start, text start, button exit, text exit. So for now, I'm just going to put the two buttons in. So I got the TV serving as the main menu in the game. We got the basic environment set up. I can click the buttons to start and quit. And if I wanted to make sure that those buttons were doing something, I could say if the button start is clicked, then we'll turn the button exit off. So if we click, let's turn off the quit button, and that'll just give me an action so that I see something happening. Later we'll write a script here, but so I look at this, I click here, and it turns off the quit button. I'm going to go ahead and build and run this. Okay, back in VR. The TV looks a lot bigger in VR than it does in Unity. And those buttons are definitely big enough. It looks really cool. I can see my game. I can click on quit. It doesn't do anything. I can click start game, and it makes the quit button disappear. So we got our main menu in the game. We're going to build on it later, but at least we got it up and going. We kind of got the landing place where we go when we start the game. And this has been a pretty good day. Got a lot done. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for day 6. And we're going to get some more work done on this game. See you guys soon.